Hi guys, so today we are going to set up a Commonplace book in my Shakespeare open road, and I just want to get everything cleared away. So I have done a watercolor video, and it'll be over on the Her Billowing Heart channel, so if you're interested in that, you can head over there. But I'm just showing you last year's setup, which if you're familiar with the channel, you'll have seen this already. It is the Shakespeare Maverick. And in the front for the Commonplace book, I used a New York City guide. Sorry if you can hear that. We have, I think it's like a neighborhood parade every few days, just a parade of cars sort of drive around honking. So let me just start this again in a minute. Okay, so I just gave you a little sneak peek there of a couple of journals that I'm working on to go in the shop hopefully this week. And then here we have the Maverick is a pocket and the Open Road is an A6. So I'm just kind of showing you the difference in size there, and also it's kind of funny because they are a similar weight. So without the Commonplace notebook in, the Open Road's actually lighter than the whole Maverick setup, I think, because the books in there are hardcovers and they're quite heavy. So it's interesting that I have more room to write and it's actually lighter, or it's probably about the same size, the same weight with this book in it. But you can see there I've got it very loosely in there, so I don't pull the strings tight, so it's not kind of injuring the book, or it's not pulling on the leather cover. And then there is an index page, but let me just show you the cover here. So it's actually kind of made of a sparkly cardstock. It's quite sturdy. It's not too sturdy, so it's nice to have it in a leather cover or something like this, because you get that extra protection. And then you can see here that it does open and lay flat. You might have to kind of sort of work some pages, but it's just bound with book tape there on the edges, so it's really easy to open, and it's also got really smooth, beautiful paper, so it's really good for fountain pens. And so what we're going to do is just, I was just going to sort of do this on my own, and then I realised I do kind of have a formula for setting up like a new notebook, or especially like a Commonplace book, so I just thought I would share that with you. So I go to the back of the book and I open a couple of pages, and then I'll do a pen test. That's the first thing I do to kind of just check the pens that I have, how they perform on the paper. And I am familiar with this paper. I had one of these, so it's saying the date that I wrote in there I think is 2016, but I think I used it for pretty much 2 years, so it was almost like a little bit of a sketchbook and a Commonplace book at that time. I didn't really have a setup at that time. I was still kind of figuring out how I wanted to do things. But so yeah, I am familiar with the paper, and I do enjoy this paper. And so I am just going to do a pen test here anyway, just to show kind of the pens that I use on the paper, and you can kind of see how they perform. And then I'm just showing you as well here, I just realized that you might want to kind of have a look and see what I kind of use a Commonplace book for and what kind of things I put in there. So in my world, I use it kind of as a sketchbook, as a place for notes, as a place to try out pens, anything that I'm working on. I use it, for inspiration, like to make lists, to jot down, all kinds of notes and sketches and kind of things that I am interested in. So we're going to start here with the Pilot Cavalier. This is kind of been my everyday writer for almost the last year and a half, I guess. and you can see here that it's skipping a lot, so that this is not an indication of showing the pen at its best. But I think you may have seen this pen on my channel before. I also, in a little while, I'll actually go back and it always, for the last, probably since we've moved, so the last 5 or 6 months, it's needed a little bit of a warm-up before I start using it, and I think it just might need another clean. So I did clean it, and it started working better, and then it's gone backwards a little bit, and I think that's just due to sometimes I don't use it every day. So in the beginning it was really good, and now it struggles a little bit. I'm not sure, but it is a very good writer, and yeah, I will show you that. And then I have the Lamy fine nib, which I love, and then I'm just got a gel pen here as well, so I do like to use a gel pen. Okay, so I laid down a bit of the Wink of Stella so you can see that performs really nicely on the paper as well, and you can see it doesn't buckle the page or anything. And then I'm using this liquid chrome. Now this does tend to bleed through, so I'm interested in the results of this, and it's actually a pen that I got for my sister, and I always borrow it off her. So this is the Faber-Castell in the 6B, so it's the watercolor lead pencil. So I do often like to use these in here. So this is a fountain brush pen. I do have a full video on this. It's the Kuretake fountain brush pen from Jet Pens. I think it's the number 8. I really enjoy this. So it's a brush pen that you can put cartridges in, and at the minute I kind of have a mix, and so you can see here I'm kind of warming up the pilot, and by then it's working a lot better. So let's see here. Yeah, I love the fountain brush pen. It is very difficult to use, and especially here, like I'm doing these pen tests and I'm actually looking through the phone to write, so it's a bit awkward. But yeah, I really do love that pen. Okay, so then the next thing that I do is I go back a page or two from the pen test at the back of the book, and I put down any passwords that I need to keep with me, or any numbers or emails or any kind of contact information, things like that. So I keep that all at the back as well. Then usually once I am familiar with the paper and what pens I want to use and things, I go back to the front, and like you can see here, I'm just putting in the date. And I feel like I just kind of keep thinking, like especially the journal community and things, like people are going to want to see our journals from this kind of time. So it's just interesting to write the date there. But then I just go and I start kind of doing some kind of cover page. So here I've just done a little sketch, one of my emblems, and then I'm getting my favourite Winsor & Newton gold drawing ink. So I have talked about this a lot, and I still love it. I just got a new bottle. This is like my 4th or 5th bottle. So you can see last time I got the smaller bottle, which is I think $5 or $6, and this one's 10 or 11. I do have a link to this on my blog, because sometimes you can't actually find it, but it is there. Sometimes it just doesn't come up in search. So I'll try and link that blog post with all my favourite supplies below so that you can go look that up. And it also has this nib holder and the nibs that I like to use and everything in that post as well. So I will try and do that for you. And so here I'm just, because it's a new bottle, I'm shaking it up, and it's still, I probably didn't shake it up enough. I keep trying to get through. So I've just filmed twice today. I've kind of given myself a little bit of space the last week or so that not too much pressure if I couldn't film or anything. So I'm trying to get a couple of videos done today, and it just kind of seems to keep stopping and starting. But what I was saying was I didn't quite shake it up enough, I think. I was in a bit of a hurry, and then I just shook it, but so you could see it was still a little bit watery when I started using it, but it's such a beautiful ink. I really, really love it. And you can see there, I love the fizz as well. When you kind of first lay it down, it still fizzes until it dries. And then you can see my messy desk here as well. So I seem to trying to keep it clean, and then it just gets messy. I am trying to make a couple of new journals, so they're just kind of on the other side of the desk there. But here we're going to do a page of watercolor as well. So I want to do bit of a color wheel at the back here. So I am just doing this next to the pen test, and I'm also just testing out the paper because I do kind of like watercolors on this paper, so it's not as crinkly as Tomorrow River paper, and it dries actually quite flat. So you'll see here, I should have actually shown you, I kind of show you how sort of crinkly the back is, but I actually should have just shown you another shot when it was fully dry. It's quite flat, and it dries almost more like the way it would in a sketchbook. So it's quite interesting if I didn't have a sketchbook on me, but I have some watercolors, or I want to just sketch something quickly without sort of getting out any other materials. I do have my planner, and and this Commonplace book, I can do a little bit of watercoloring in it, so I really enjoy it for that reason. So I'm not creating a traditional colour wheel, I'm just sort of going in and putting down colours that I like, and in kind of a colour scheme that I am thinking about, or like more of a neutrals palette, and some sparkles. So a lot of these are either Rivervale watercolour colours on Etsy, or nibs, pens and inks on Etsy. And then there's a couple of Schminker limited edition gold colours as well. And so I have actually just gone outside to do a little bit of the voiceover. So I'm supposed to be inside cooking, but you can hear the birds chirping. It's such a beautiful day today. So yesterday we had quite a rainy day, and I just thought I'd come out here and finish a bit of the voiceover. So here you can see the watercolours in more detail, and I love this part, how it glistens on the page. And then I kind of show you the back here, but it does flatten out a little bit more than that. So it's a bit more like a sketchbook with, is it like 200 GSM paper or less, where it kind of just buckles a little bit. And then, you know, when you close the book and if you put a clamp on it, it flattens out a bit. So it's a lot more like that. I'm actually pretty excited to have this in my setup and to have this kind of available. I know it's not like a traditional sketchbook, but sometimes, you know, with the limited amount of space that I have on my desk, if I'm like making journals or something, then I can't pull out the watercolor book. So it's nice to have this here where I can do this. And as well, if you didn't hear in my last video, you know, I've moved all of the watercolor stuff over to a new channel, but watercolor will still be sort of a part of this channel because it's kind of all combined, and then I might also show journals and planners on the other channel. So to me, it's sort of all part of my creative process, but I can see like where the algorithm might want to like, you know, section things off. So that's kind of what I've done, and all my planning and journal stuff will still be here. And then all the watercolor and kind of art stuff will be over there, and this will also still have more craft stuff on it as well. So you can see here, this is how it's kind of ended up so far. I've got to still add, you know, my passwords and all that kind of contact info in there, and I just love it. I'm so happy to have a new blank book ready for scribbles and just all kinds of adventures. I feel like again, like I said, it's kind of a strange one this year, and so it'll be interesting kind of what it gets filled up with. And but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will have another one up today as well over on Her Billowing Heart. I think that I'll finish it up now, and I think all that I'm doing now is just showing you how I put it in. It's pretty simple. I just take it to, I'm not actually taking it to the middle, more towards the back of the book, and just popping that in there. And then I will show you kind of a couple of clips just cooking and, you know, vacuuming, just my regular daily stuff there. So nothing special, but that's where I am when I'm not here, just plugging away at life. And I do love your comments, and I love hearing how you guys are, and if everything's okay where you are. So I hope that you're all well, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. And also, I've got to say, I've been struggling with this saucepan for 2 days now, so that is where else I've been. And also covering the doves, so when it gets a little bit, we've had actually 4 or 5 storms, so we just cover them. And we found out this morning there's actually 2 doves in the nest, so you'll see that in my next video as well. Okay, bye.